Hello, Steve White, Steve 79. I just wanted to make a video about Rose Tico and Kelly Marie Tran. Now, this has been a talking point for about 2 years. Um, Basically, Rian Johnson wrote this character into The Last Jedi, and there's been a love-hate relationship with her. Some people did not like her character, didn't like the way she was used in relation to other characters, particularly Finn, who I keep calling Poe, Finn, and there was a bit of people just didn't like her, and a lot of people attributed that to her race and made it a race thing, that they must be racist, they must hate the character because the actress is Asian. And I'm sure there are a few racist idiots out there who did say as much. I haven't seen any proof of any of that, but I'm sure it happened somewhere. I've seen plenty of racist and sexist comments from Star Trek and Star Wars fans and genre fans just online in general. But the assumption that if you don't like the character and she's Asian, you must be racist, and it must be because of her race, is kind of moronic. I didn't have a problem with the character, let's just be upfront. I thought she was cute, but kind of a bit odd and a bit mean. I'm like, she was so just, you're a deserter. I'm like, okay, she's brutal. But there was something comedic about that. I don't know. I only saw The Rise of Jedi once in the cinema. Sorry, The Last Jedi once in the cinema, and then once on Blu-ray before I saw The Rise of Skywalker. And I kind of liked her. I remembered her. I liked her. I didn't understand why people had such a problem. I understood later, as people explained in defense of themselves being called racist and sexist because they didn't like her, explaining why they actually didn't like the character. And I understand why some people didn't like it, and they have valid didn't like her. They have valid reasons for that, and they're not automatically racist or sexist. It's got nothing to do with her race. It's to do with how the character was written for most people. I can't say all. There is probably a couple of people who are just plain racist and they wouldn't be happy with an Asian person in a movie no matter what, or a black person in a movie no matter what, because that's just how they are. And that's the thing. If you're racist, you hate everyone of that race. You don't pick and choose, well, I like this Asian character in this film, but I don't like this Asian character in that film. That's not how it works. If you're a racist, you hate all of them. And this idea, especially with sexism, that, someone can be sexist and not like Captain Marvel or the new Terminator savior, but yet they can like Sarah Connor and Ripley and Wonder Woman or Buffy. It doesn't work that way. If you hate women, if you are a true misogynist and you hate women, you find just their existence offensive and they are just a threat to you on every level, you're not just going to like one and like the other. If you have problems with one female actress or one character but not others, that means you have a problem with the character because of how they're written, or how the story uses them, or how the actor portrays them or something. And there's a lot of that, and people have a genuine right to that opinion, and they don't have to be haters and sexist, and they don't deserve to be treated as though they are some sort of filth of society that needs to be silenced and gotten rid of. And the media has taken that stance that if you don't like this film, if you don't like this character, you're sexist, you're misogynist, you have no right to an opinion, you need to be shut up. And that is incredibly offensive, especially to, other women. There's a lot of women who don't like that character. And it's not because she's a woman, it's because they don't like the character. I'm sure there's a few Asian people who don't like that character. I don't think I've actually seen an Asian person say they don't like the character. Now I think about it, but it just occurred to me, I don't think I watch any regular Asian YouTubers. I'm just thinking about that. That's weird. Where are all the Asian YouTubers? They're all white. Oh my god. They must be. Sorry, the mind wobbles. But onto the whole point of this was, people were looking at the new film thinking, are they going to have her in it more, or are they going to jar jar her and kick her to the side because people didn't like her? And the feeling was, she wasn't in the film, She only got 1 minute and 16 seconds of screen time, and the feeling was she wasn't in the film. The haters won. They got rid of her to make the haters happy. Basically, strike one for diversity and just humanity in general. Now, I don't know what happened. I know JJ didn't create her. He probably didn't know what to do with her. But I feel like I was expecting her to be more in the film, and I was quite happy for her to be more in the film, and I didn't realize how little she was in it. The film goes so fast, there's so much happening, I didn't realize she only had 1 minute and 16 seconds. It felt like more. Now, Disney's just excuse now is, well, we wanted her to do something important, so we wanted her to be on the base with Leia, and she would be in the scenes with Leia because those are some of the big scenes, because people love Leia and they also want to see how they handled using the footage of her and CGIing it and basically putting her in the movie. Now, apparently they filmed a bunch of scenes that were supposed to be with Leia, and they couldn't make them work with the effects and CGI. They didn't work, so they left them out, and a lot of her scenes were left out because they were with Leia, or they involved Leia in some way, or that story involved Leia, and once they Leia didn't work, they had to remove like a whole B storyline, or like a bunch of scenes basically. Now that makes some sense if they made the mistake of putting all her scenes with Leia, and then Leia didn't work, the use of the footage didn't work, then obviously that all her scenes go as well. Now some people are saying that's not true. You didn't want her in the film because you knew fans hated her. Not because they're racist trolls, but just because they didn't like the character, and you just wanted to retcon that, so you wrote her out and didn't feature her in it. And other people are saying, well, if Disney says that, and I think there's some images of her, I don't know if they're obviously not with Leia, but they did do some scenes with Rey, so there is proof there was more scenes filmed with Kelly Marie Tran, but we're not sure if this is true. So that's what Disney's saying. Some people are saying that's BS. You're just making an excuse because people are angry with you because you wrote her out because you didn't like her and they liked her, and they think there's some bad sort of thing behind it. So I don't know what it is, but I do think it's plausible that they wanted to make her important. They gave her an important role by having her being the one at the base dealing and working with Leia, but they could maybe limit the screen time by having a few scenes of her that really stand out, and that way they have her in the film to make fans happy, but they don't have her on the journey and having to, because they just had too many characters in the pot, really. They had the old characters, had the new characters, they had the Rian Johnson characters, but then that argument kind of falls when I think about it, because they wrote new characters. Rose could have gone on the journey, and she could have some other characters that were written, female characters, new characters that were written. She could have basically filled their spot, I guess, but I guess JJ felt he needed those for some story reasons. So I need to watch the film again and really look. You have to, I think, if you're analysing this film, you need to watch it a few times, especially after you hear more information and more people's views, and you have to look at it from different angles. So I'll have to watch it again. I just wanted to make a video about that because I thought it was interesting, and I do see it as plausible. And I feel bad for Kelly Marie Tran, because the rumor was that she was chased off Instagram by racist Star Wars trolls telling her that basically they don't want an Asian woman in Star Wars. Now, I have yet to see a screen capture of any sort of comments like that, and I've seen her be interviewed and say that she left Instagram because it was too much pressure, and she had to get therapy because being in Hollywood with some of her issues with her race and her body image and stuff like that, it was all too much, going from basically being an office worker to being like an international star, that she basically had to just step away from it all. And it wasn't a matter of, specifically Star Wars, racist Star Wars fans trolling her off Instagram. So I'm fairly sure it didn't happen that way. I'm sure a few people made a few comments, because I've seen stupid people make stupid comments. They're everywhere, but they are the minority. And when you basically paint the whole fandom with that brush because of a couple of people, so that you can discredit them, so you hopefully don't have to deal with their genuine criticism, that's pretty evil. And that's what the studios have done. They've done it with Star Trek, they've done it with Doctor Who. I'm going to do a video on that because that's coming up soon. but I hadn't touched this topic, partly because at the time I wasn't 100% sure, but since I've seen interviews of her talking about the situation, and the actor who plays Finn making a few comments on it as well, I'm fairly sure that she wasn't bullied off because of racists. There are other issues, and the people who have problems with Rose Tico, it's not because of her race, because generally people who like science fiction and Star Wars and stuff like that and Star Trek, they like diversity. They're geeks and nerds and misfits and they don't fit in. They're normally not the people that have those sort of issues. So I'm not buying into that, and I didn't really buy into it, but I did want to do a bit of research and see a few things before I made any decisions. And the interviews I saw of her are enough for now to make me feel confident that that wasn't the issue. And I hope that that's why she isn't in the film. That it's not that reason. That it is just this reason that they put all her scenes and they made her some very important scenes with Leia, and then they didn't work out effects wise, and they had to cut them, and it was just collateral damage. It wasn't intended for her not to be in it, and for her to be in it that little that she was supposed to be in it more. I think they had the right intentions. Something went wrong. I have no reason to believe they're making it up or lying. I think if they didn't want to use the character, JJ would just say she didn't work in my story and be done. I don't think he'd go to the elaborate extent to make up this sort of excuse for it all, because there's far easier, shorter explanations for why they didn't use her as much in the film. So I'm just going with that, and that's my point of view of the whole 2-year ordeal of Rose Tico. And I will be buying a Rose Tico toy. There's this little set, but I want the one where she's in the flight outfit when we first met her, when she was kind of scary. I don't want the later one where she's dressed up and she kind of looks like she's wearing like a First Order outfit and kind of looks like a Nazi. I don't like that toy. I'm going to get the other one. But I've talked too long. It's a long, complicated issue. But yeah, I'm done. Thanks, bye.